What's going on, guys? SeanPierceJohnson here, not Ryan from 60 Cycle Hum. Yes, another Harley Benton that I borrowed from Ryan from 60 Cycle Hum because I wanted to check out some Harley Benton goodness, and this is sort of their Cabronita Telecaster style guitar, one that I think is really awesome, really cool, and we're gonna take a little bit of a look at it today. This has been one that I have definitely eyed over the course of my history of knowing about Harley Benton, because the Cabronita Tele has always been something that I've always looked to as a really cool twist on the classic Telecaster. And I love Telecasters, but pair of Telecaster with some filtertrons, and I gotta hear that thing and I gotta play that thing. And this one definitely takes some cues from that guitar, that inspiration, and also throws in a few old school Tele tricks and some oddities, if you will. I'm highlighting that oddity, that make it a really sick guitar, a really mean guitar to play, and one that, despite its very vintage look, actually riffs pretty hard. So let's check it out. So spec-wise, we have an ash body with a maple neck, and it's in this very cool, they call it vintage white finish, but that's really a vintage blonde finish. You can see the wood grain through there. There's definitely a white tint to it. It's not 100% a white finish guitar, but it's also not 100% just a transparent finish, but it looks cool as hell, and definitely it fits the vibe of stuff that I like to see in Telecaster. Got a bolt-on maple neck, really solid looking maple neck. Looks like it's a one-piece maple neck. And then we have the maple fretboard as well with 22 frets. And then the reverse headstock. This is something that I think is a little bit oddball of a choice for this particular guitar. I mean, when you think Telecasters, you don't think reverse headstocks. And I know Chapman does their Tele style with a reverse headstock. It doesn't have this sort of eagle tip right here. It's definitely a little bit more rounded. So this isn't necessarily something that's totally out of left field, but it certainly is a little bit of a touch that a lot of people who are, you know, more Tele purists would find just to be a little bit strange. But personally, as much as I love Telecasters in their, you know, purist form, I do like using the Telecaster as a bit of a template. We have these filtertron style Roswell pickups on this, and unfortunately my experience with filtertrons is fairly limited. I love the players that play filtertrons, but I personally have not had a whole lot of experience with it. So I can't say whether or not there's a one-to-one similarity, but all I can say is that they sound mean and they sound a lot of fun. String through body right here with a 6-saddle bridge right here. We have a black pickguard, very reminiscent of not only the Cabronita, but also the original Tele prototypes had a pickguard somewhat similar to this, and so I think that's a really cool callback. Master volume, master tone, both a little bit stiff in their friction, with the volume being just ever so slightly less friction than the tone. I usually like my volume pots to be a little bit easier to turn than this, but it's not going to be something that I will give a large mark down to Harley Benton on, because once you put it all together, this is a really cool guitar. It plays really well. The fretboard feels a little bit flatter than you might see on a traditional F-style guitar, so it makes for a little bit faster playing than some of the vintage examples. And at the end of the day, as I said, it sounds a lot meaner than you might think it sounds. So we need to get to that. Let's hear cleans, let's hear dirties with the Orange Rocker Verb 100. Start with the bridge pickup. I'm gonna tune this bad boy up and we'll get down to business. This bridge pickup is pretty hot stuff. I like the little bit of grit that you get when you smack real hard. You get that little bit of breakup, but then you can pick lightly. And there is something really kind of cool, and it's like a somewhere between a Strat single coil or a Tele single coil with a little bit of stratiness, but gets like a fatness of a humbucker. It's a really interesting sound. Because I can hear that glassiness, but a little bit of sweetness. And it kind of has that jangly sound of a Tele that I like a lot. The middle position is definitely one of my favorites for cleans, so to get a little bit more in my comfort zone, let's put the chorus on from the Keeley DCR and my Chaos Crescendo tone print, and let's get a little feelsy with it. I think one of the cool things is I'm using a chicken pick, and I've been using these chicken picks quite a bit recently, really starting to enjoy them a lot more than I did when I first got them. And I like that I can actually kind of hear the pick go across the strings. I can hear it just ever so slightly coming through in this sound, and it's something that I really dig. Let's see about the bridge pickup with this sound. Lots of detail in these pickups that I really, really dig. Now let's go ahead and kick on the dirty channel of the Rocker Verb. And this is where I feel like this particular guitar veers into sonic territory that you wouldn't necessarily think, because these pickups actually have quite a bit of chunk to them. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a little bit of riff stuff for you. Pretty crazy how this pickup has the ability to kind of take on the best characters of the different sounds that you're using. Clean, I felt like there was a lot of great detail in that for the clean tone, but when going to dirty, it feels like it softens it up a little bit and takes that edge that you got in the clean tone and contributes it more to the gain structure, rather than like giving you these really weird high-pitched frequencies that are kind of not so great when you want a thick guitar tone. Let's keep going with the middle position. love that the middle position and the neck position have this sort of clarity. They don't sacrifice so much of the gain structure, but they definitely give you a little bit of that note separation back. Need a little rotary speaker in there from the DCR. Let's do that. Yeah, just a really cool, versatile set of pickups that I feel like really accentuate the best qualities of your clean tone and your dirty tone. Very different kind of tone than I'm used to. And when you put it in a package that is traditional with a little bit of an oddball twist in the reverse headstock, I feel like this could be a really cool guitar if you're looking to get just a little bit of a different tonality out of your arsenal. You know, filtertrons aren't 100% like single coils. They're not 100% like humbuckers. They kind of have their own individual sound, and if you're not familiar with them, why would you want to spend thousands of dollars on a Gresh, or maybe even just twice as much as what this costs from Harley Benton on an offshore Gresh that you're not sure is going to be as quality as the Harley Benton is? A lot of things about this are working for it, and I think that for the money, this guitar is pretty darn awesome. There are a couple things about it that I can say right off the bat that I would want to see just slight improvements on. These tuners are just a little bit stiff for my taste, so when I go to tune, it takes a little bit more force to actually tune them up and you know, get the gears moving. I don't know if that's because the washers on the tops of the tuners are tightened down too tight, or if there's something within the gears that's just too tight, but they are a little bit stiff, and it's not something that I'm crazy about. The fretwork is actually very good, and I feel like the fret edges are rolled a lot more than on the Fusion model. Kind of seems a little weird, little, you know, stainless steel frets on a Fusion model, something that's super stratty. Feels like that should have more rolled edges than this one does. There are a few fret ends sticking out on the bottom, but that's not something, they're not snagging the bottom E string if it gets bent outside the neck, and they're not cutting my hands, so that's very nice. I like the feel of the neck. It's nice and chunky up here, and I wonder if there is just a slight compound radius to it, because it definitely feels rounder up here than it does, especially right around here. Right at the neck heel, it definitely does flatten out just a little bit, but I wonder if there is just a little bit of a radius on the back of the neck. You can get pretty comfortably up to the 22nd fret, which is pretty incredible on a Telecaster with that square neck heel. That's almost always hard to do. The one other thing about this that I'm not too crazy about is on the bridge, the little raising and lowering screw posts are just sticking out of that bridge assembly just a little too much. If you look closely at the saddles, you know, they're kind of like bent down a little bit. Definitely seems like you could raise the height of those up a little bit and you wouldn't have the screws, the little height adjusters, sticking out quite so much. Again, I'm not a guy that knows a whole lot about working on guitars, so I can't speak to like what you would need to do in order to do that, but that's just little things that I've noticed here and there. But what it doesn't really, overall, like, I get used to it a little bit more, and I find a way to adapt my playing a little bit more so that my wrist isn't like raking across these height adjustment screws, but definitely like going like this, it's a little hurtful and something that I think should be addressed. Volume, definitely a little bit too stiff for my liking, as is the tone. I like a volume that's nice and fast. This one is just a little too stiff for my liking. But at the end of the day, the amount of money that you're spending on this guitar, and again, I don't know if Ryan did anything to these before he let me borrow them, but this feels like a really solid guitar, one that I would not hesitate to spend the money on. I have heard from many other guys that have gotten Harley Benton guitars that they rarely have to do anything to them out of the box. They might have to do a little bit of intonation work, but they generally don't require that much work. All in all, I'm really excited that I got to check out both of these Harley Bentons. I think they are fantastic guitars for the price. If you need a new sound to add to your arsenal, why spend a lot of money? Save some. You're gonna get a really cool quality guitar that'll get your feet wet with new sounds and new musical ideas. And overall, it's kind of fun to play some of these cheap guitars these days and see how good they are for the money. It's kind of amazing that we're able to get quality instruments at lower prices. So that's something I'm definitely interested in. Ryan, thank you so much again for letting me take on these two Harley Bentons. I've been having a lot of fun with them, and I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope we have more Harley Benton fun on the channel in the near future, so we'll see how that goes. And one way that we can have more Harley Benton fun is by you guys letting me know what you thought. So down in the comment section, please let me know your thoughts. Positive, negative, you can do whatever you want. Give this video a thumbs up, and when you see it, click the subscribe button, turn on some notifications. Come back for another video soon, but if you want to see it before anybody else, go over and join my Patreon page. You'll find a link for that in the description below. It's always a happy time to have you guys spend some time with me. It's amazing that you choose to spend part of your day with me. I greatly appreciate it. And until next time, my friends, I'm Sean Pierce Johnson, wishing you all out there great tone and happy stomping. Cheers, friends. We'll see you soon.